Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Gig Money Podcast. I am Cody.
And I'm Andrew.
And today we are we've been experiencing some technical difficulties. So we're a little distracted right now, but the intention is that we are going to tell some stories today. It's going to be a story of the day episode. So I know Andrew has some things that he would like to talk about.
And I know that Cody has some things that he'd like to talk about.
Yes, spay and neuter your pets. It's really important, but that's not it. It's important, but that's not what I want to talk about. So, I was in a band called Rickshaw for a period of time. It was probably a year and a half or so. It was a great time. Those guys are awesome, but Rickshaw is what you would call a thrash, progressive metal type band, and they shortened it to Throg, thrash prog Throg. So they're Throg metal, and they actually reverted to their earlier name of Jesus Rides a Rickshaw. So that's pretty cool. They're still going strong. Definitely love those guys. But during my tenure as their guitar player, there was a lot of fun stories, fun shows, and this one in particular, I remember because there were some very, very interesting experiences. And experiences that I've never had before. So first and foremost, Rickshaw is a band from Salt Lake City, but we booked a kind of Halloween time show in Denver. So we made the trek out, and I was the one who booked the show, and we were pretty excited about it. You know, anytime you get to go out of town and play a show and all of that, it's always fun. You know,
it's always exciting.
Yeah, it's like a little mini tour, road trip kind of thing. It's not a tour though, but you know, out of town shows are definitely fun. You get that travel experience in there, and this was no different because you know Denver is about a 12-hour drive from Salt Lake City, and then we were all spread out in different parts of Salt Lake City. You know, so we had like an hour one way or the other traveling from where we meet up. So, you know, it was bound to be a long day the next day after the show when we came back. But we drive out to Denver, and the drive there is pretty nice. You know, not anything too crazy going on, and stop at this liquor store and get some goodies. And I remember thinking it was the absolute coolest thing that I found. I discovered the next Fireball or what have you, you know. And it was mint flavored whiskey. So I'm like, this is really cool, man. This is gonna be great, you know, and this is gonna blow up because that's a great idea. And so we left, and we got to where we were going, and I took a swig of it, and I was like, this is fucking mouthwash. I just bought overpriced mouthwash for me to get drunk off, but my breath was minty fresh. So another interesting thing about that show was, like I said, it was a Halloween show, so we all dressed up. We all had masks and you know, suits and everything. We were doing the whole kind of like psycho killer vibe. Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, kind of that, but just dressing up for Halloween and stuff. I had a plain white mask. It was completely featureless. It was just a mask, you know. And then I had like this stupid blue wig. and yeah, I didn't look very scary at all. I looked more like I should be at a disco club or some weirdness like that. But it was a fun show. It was the first show that I've ever played wearing a mask. So, you know, shout out to everybody who does that because it's not the easiest thing in the world. You know, especially when you're playing very progressive metal and you have to know where your fingers are on the fretboard at all times. That was very difficult. But it was fun. It was a whole lot of fun. We had a really great time. But unfortunately, at the end of the show, at the end of the night, it came down to it, and they didn't pay us. We're not going to give Rickshaw any money. Fuck them. And so, like, at this long 12-hour drive, 24 hours round trip, no money whatsoever. And I felt so bad because I was the one who booked the show. I felt particularly bad because Rickshaw at the time had a like old late 70s kind of Greyhound style bus.
Yeah, it's really
That
cool. I've seen it.
it was really cool, and it had been converted into an RV, and then that RV had been converted into a touring vehicle, and it was awesome. But that thing is not cheap to fill up the fuel tank, not at all. So making no money at that show, and feeling like it was my fault. I should have done something about it. So, or just not book the show, because if we're not going to make any money, it's not really worth it.
No.
So that was disappointing. Like I said, the show was fun. We just kind of took that and went off, and we stayed the night there. They were kind enough to hook us up with power so that we could power
nice.
the bus and everything. So that was one thing that was included in the rider was, power to keep the bus going. But yeah, well, not even going to give you $5 from the bar, but here's an extension cord. Have fun. So
help yourself.
So, I had my mint flavored whiskey, my mouthwash, and
your mouthwash.
we were just trying to make the most of it. And we had a good time, and we met a lot of really cool people, and the local bands that played with us were really cool too, and hung out with them quite a bit. And the next morning when we were going to leave, everybody was like, hey, we should stop at Dispensary before we go because we're in Colorado.
Right.
And
as most bands do.
Yeah. And, that was years ago when Colorado was pretty much the only state where weed was legalized. Maybe a few other states at that point. But, it was still pretty limited. So I was like, yeah, cool. I've never been the kind of guy to smoke a whole lot of weed. It was never really my thing. And, they enjoyed it. They even have songs about their favorite flavors. So, it's cool, like diesel and cheese.
Wow.
Yeah. It's hardcore,
that's an interesting.
Yeah. So, they were into it. And so I was like, yeah, let's go. And they were like, hey, you should come in. They have edibles and stuff too. And I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe I'll try some of those. So I went in. And I purchased myself some gummies. We hit the road, and we were on our way back home, and we had a long 12-hour drive and kind of a disappointing night from earlier, but we were making the most of it. So a lot of this drive, you are going through Wyoming if you take the North Way. And that's kind of the safer way, especially if you have a large rig like a bus. But it's not the most scenic part of the country by any means. It's pretty boring.
No.
So we were just, me and the guitar player were hanging out at the table, the dining table that folded down into a sleeping area. But we didn't need to use that because we had our bunks in the back. So, we were just hanging out there. We were just talking. He said, oh, hey, you got some gummies, didn't you? And I was like, oh, yeah, I did. I should try some of these out. We got a long drive home, so I don't really have anything going on. And he's like, yeah, cool. And he had something as well. So we were just, sitting there talking about things, talking about guitars, talking about our favorite bands and stuff like that. And I opened up my bag of gummies, and I tried one. Like, this is a little interesting. You can taste it, but it's definitely not bad at all. And so we're talking, and I realize that I have been munching on these edibles like they were regular gummy bears or something. So pop 2 in, pop 3 in, 4, 5. And he's like, hey, hold on a second. How many of those have you had? And I looked at my bag and I was like, I don't know. I've had like 6, 7 maybe. And he's like, okay, you need to stop right now. I mean, that's way too much. I'm like, no, man, it's going to be all right. I'm just going to pack this up and put it away. And I didn't really know what to expect because I'd never had edibles before. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, I feel fine. I don't feel anything. Whatever, let's just continue talking about what we're talking about and telling stories about different bands we've been in the past. And before I know it, I'm sitting there staring at him, and he's telling me the story, and I am trying so hard to focus. I am doing everything I can to look him in the eyes and listen to what he's saying and respond with something that shows him that I'm paying attention. But in my head, all that I'm hearing is wah, 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 wah. He just turned into
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown, exactly. And I was like, okay, what is going on? This is crazy. And so at a certain point, he just keeps talking to me, and I'm starting to get like freaked out. Like, I don't know what he's saying. This is terrible. Like, I'm being so impolite right now. I'm not paying attention to him. And at a certain point, I just kind of realized, all right, this is 6 gummies deep, and this is what happens. And so I said, dude, I'm going to tell you, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. I'm going to go in the back and take a nap. And he was like, wow, 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 wow. So yeah, that was my first experience with edibles. And I remember, like I said, it was a very long trip. I woke up to this strange voice. Like, what is this? And I was like, is it Willy Wonka? And it was. So they had rigged up the bus. There was a button at the very front in the driver's seat, that would play a sound throughout the entire bus. And what they had set up was a line from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It was, good morning, sunshine. The earth says hello. And they just get playing it over and over and over again, like at least 20 times. And I'm like, still like, what's going on? And then I like finally like fully woke up, like, oh, we're home. Holy shit. So
Well, that sounds like a better return trip than it was, a going out trip.
I would disagree. I feel like I lost 8 hours of my life. And it's just gone because I wasn't careful with how many gummies I was ingesting. But lesson learned.
But you would have been like,
for sure.
Time travel?
Time travel. Well,
yeah.
I'll let you in a little secret, Andrew, because I can travel through time. It's just at normal speed.
Yes. We are traveling right now into the future. That is my superpower.
But yeah,
wow.
It definitely doesn't feel like it after that many gummies that are that strong. So that is my story. Yeah. So word to the wise: be careful, and always have trustworthy people around if you're going to do anything like that. And I was very, very lucky that I had a whole group of guys around that I could rely on and trust. And they ended up making fun of me for it, of course, but they took care of me. It was good.
So as they didn't draw anything on your face or, put your hand in shaving cream, probably pretty good friends.
Yeah, they definitely didn't dip my fingers into warm water so I pissed myself while I was sleeping. But they could have done that, and that would have been funny. But, I wasn't in any sort of mortal danger. So
well, that's good.
That's good. Yeah, so that was a fun story. And like I said, those guys are still doing what they're doing. They have a new practice spot that they actually hold their own events in. They're doing one this weekend, I think. So,
is it a pizza place?
No, but it's a warehouse. But you mentioned that it's awesome because the singer for Rickshaw, or Jesus Rides a Rickshaw, is the proprietor of the Pie Pizzeria, all of the locations throughout Utah, and it's amazing. And they have gluten-free
good pizza
crust that is fantastic, and they have a complete separate kitchen where they take care of all of that, so there's no cross contamination. And being in a family where we have celiac, it definitely makes a difference.
That's awesome. So the pie.
So I'm safe.
Check it out.
I'm safe eating at the Pie Pizzeria. I'm also safe having too many gummies on the rickshaw bus because, Palmer's the guy. He's awesome.
So, as you were telling that story, the one where you're saying, you had a white mask on your face, I just kept thinking about this movie. It's got this guy who's got Rorschach. It's like his face is always changing, and it's like I was thinking of a joke you told me once upon a time, a long time ago, where it was like, who's this Rorschach guy and why is he always showing me pictures of my parents fighting?
I love that joke. I love that joke so much.
That's all I kept imagining as you were talking about that. I can't remember what that movie's called.
Watchmen.
Yeah.
Right?
Watchmen. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
It's a really good movie.
That's probably my favorite superhero movie, even though it's kind of like an anti-superhero movie. It's awesome. And the comic is excellent as well.
Yes, he is. Isn't that Jeffrey Dean Morgan? Is that who it is?
Oh, yes, but I was talking about the actual it's a graphic novel is what it's actually called. It's not a comic book. It's a graphic novel.
Okay.
The Watchmen. That's what it's based on. It's awesome.
I see.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, like he is incredible too.
He really is.
Supernatural, Walking Dead, comedian. Love him.
I never knew that, he was so diverse. It was very, very cool. And I love him. He's a great actor.
Yeah. It's like the first time you hear about Gary Oldman, you learn about Gary Oldman, and it's like, I've seen him everywhere, but I didn't realize it. Right. It's awesome. Right. Wow.
Like, I remember him from The Fifth Element.
Yes. That's where I always go to. And he's got the crazy haircut and the like clear plastic face mask thing. And oh man, that was so good.
Did you know that in the movie, The Fifth Element, he pulls out a gun and he's got this great big gun looking thing. And that exact same gun is in the Blue Beetle right now. So the Blue Beetle just came out in a movie and they actually did a picture of a side-by-side of that gun and the gun that Gary Oldman was holding in The Fifth Element. They're the exact same thing. It's like, wow, reusing a prop. That's pretty fantastic.
It's bold. It's bold in the best way.
It is. It's very, very cool. So here's where I will start talking about my wonderful story of the day. So a while back, I know I've talked about this on a few other occasions, but I used to do security for bands. And at this specific show, I was doing security. We had a group of guys that came in to me and they were talking to me and they says, hey, can you let us in for just a few minutes? We just want to go put out some flyers. And I was like, well, I really can't do that. And they were like, well, if you let us in to put out these flyers, then we will give you free VIP to the event, which was at the Great Saltaire. And it was like backstage access, all that stuff. And I'm a big fanatic when it comes to seeing what backstages look like. I just think there's always this mystique, that you've got to figure out, like, what is it like? Like if you're a touring band and, you have in your head kind of what it is to go into the backstage, where all the hot girls are allowed to go and talk to the bands,
Mostly just there's like big sweaty dudes hanging out in those backstage areas because they're crew guys and they got work to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's just my personal experience.
And everybody else is on their bus because that's what's more comfortable. Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Right on, and it was a rave. So, raves in Utah, they get a little crazy. So I was like, wow, I'm recently single. This sounds like a fantastic event. So they give me their phone number. I call them up, make sure, of course it goes to their phone and everything. And they go and 20 minutes later they come back and they left. And I was like, wow, cool. So I got plans for tonight. And I had a couple of friends there that were working with me as well. We all carpooled up there. So I was talking to them about it and they were like, yeah, that sounds like a good time. Let's do it. So, okay, cool. So it came around time when we were finishing up with the show. It was a kind of an earlier show. It was a whole venue where 4 or 5 different bands would perform on different stages. So there was like 12 bands playing that night, which was really, really cool. Anyway, I got over around 7:30. So I'm calling these people and I'm trying to get a hold of them because I wanted to know for sure that we were in, because I didn't want to drive there and just be like, yeah, you guys are screwed kind of a thing. So, couldn't get a hold of them. So there I was, just hanging out. And one of the guys that I was with, he got a phone call from one of his friends, and he was like, "Hey, I'm trying to bring in a new crowd into this new venue." Or it wasn't a new venue. It was an existing venue, but he was like, "So I would like, if you have some friends, if you guys could come and hang out, I will give you free drinks until 10:30." And at this point it was like almost 8. So it was like, wow, free drinks for like 2 hours. Sweet. Now I'm not much of a drinker. And so to me, it wasn't that huge appeal, but it was still one of those things where it was like, okay, we're going to get some pretty cool treatment here. We're going to be treated like we're really cool people for a minute. And that's always appealing. So we get there, going through the front door, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of a nice place. Talk to the person doing the ticket sales and everything. Then we let him know what was going on. And so the promoter came over with his girlfriend, and they were like, okay, yeah, these guys are with me. We all went back with them and everything. And this girl keeps looking at me, and she's all, hey, I know you from somewhere. And I'm all, well, I'm kind of a local rock star. I've been in
Kind of a
bands
big
and
deal.
been playing shows. Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal, If you ask me, I'm a pretty big deal.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And she's like, no, that's not it. And so my ego was slightly crushed. That wasn't a good, you should always try to boost somebody's ego. Just never put it down. Anyway, so we're inside this venue, and it's really nice. There's chandeliers, there's red velvet, like on the walls and stuff, got all these curtains going everywhere. And at this point in time, there was a stage that was glass, like the glass bricks. And that was really cool. And they had all these colors and stuff going through it. And I mean, it kind of reminded me of a disco. And I was like, wow, that's kind of fancy, right? So there's nobody really there at this point in time. And we go up to the bar, and the bartender walks over to me and he goes, what are you drinking, sweetie? And I'm all, oh, okay. I'm not used to having a man talk to me like that. So I was like, well, I'll just have a Jack and Coke. And so he hands me Jack and Coke. And I'm like, all right, cool. And we're just sitting there talking. And then the guy's girlfriend likes me and goes, hey, you are the brother of my boss. And I'm all, well, who's your boss? So she tells me, and it's my brother, my best friend. I message him and I'm like, hey, dude, I am hanging out with your assistant. And he's all, oh, so you're at the gay club. And I'm all, whoa. There's a lot of dudes here. I'm all, I guess that's where I'm at. So I sent him a message and I was like, yeah, I guess I am. So I'm like, I'm going to need another drink. Let's get this going right now. All the drinks are free. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
So we're hanging out. We're having a good time. We decide it's starting to get pretty packed. There's a lot of people coming in at this point, which, this didn't serve me very well, because I knew if I was going to be going to a rave, there was going to be a very diverse group of people there as far as male and female. Whereas this other venue, I think there was like 3 girls the entire thing, which I like girls. I don't have anything against guys. I don't have anything against guys liking guys. It's just that's not my thing, right? So with that said, we go outside. We go into this patio area. The place is called The Metro, and it changed. It's turned into a really cool music venue now, but it was prior to this. So we go outside. We're talking. We're having a good time. And I'm like, yeah, I need to go get another drink. So I go inside and I get a drink and I sit down, and this dude is sitting next to me, and he starts playing with my head. Ooh, I like this. Ooh, I like this. And I'm all, okay. And he's all, what are you drinking? And I was all, Jack and Coke. We're getting everything for free right now because, we're friends with the promoter. And he's all, oh, well, I was going to get you a drink. And I'm all, no, that's not necessary. It's okay. I appreciate that. Thank you. And he's like, you're really attractive. And I was all, thank you. I appreciate that too. So I take my drink and I walk off, and I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just like, not my thing. No big deal. I walk back. I finish my drink. I'm like, okay, well, I need another drink. It's getting close to 10:30. I didn't want it to be, we gotta get our share. So
yeah,
go walking back. And again, it's right next to where the guy was that was touching my head from the time before. I sit next to him, and he's all, oh, hey, you came back. And I was all, yeah, for a drink. I'm like, And And he's all, oh, I thought you were coming back for me. And I says, I don't want to burst your bubble or anything like that, but I don't like men. So, you like men, that's fine. But I don't like men. So, and he's all, oh, poo. That was weird. So, okay. And he's all, well, how many drinks would it take for you to like men?
How many drinks?
And I was all, I would have to be passed out or dead because I don't even like my own self. Why would I like somebody else's self right now? I don't even look at myself in the mirror like, that way. So, yeah. And he was like, okay, well, if you change your mind, and I'm like, I won't, but that's great. That's fine. You're barking up the wrong tree here. It's not going to happen. And he's all, okay, I can respect that. Now, I did kind of feel like, a lot of girls talk about how they go to the clubs and bars and stuff like that, and they get the unwanted attention. And it's like they won't take no for an answer. I kind of felt like that with this guy for a minute because it was just like he wasn't going to stop unless I was, one, either rude to him, or two, just completely avoided him altogether. But I did. I kind of felt like a pretty girl. And it was cool. So, yeah. Anyway, that's probably going to need to be edited out. So,
no, that's our new trailer.
At this point,
I felt like a pretty girl.
I felt like a pretty girl.
Yep.
Yeah. That's fine. It's just, being a pretty girl and getting the unwanted attention and that kind of stuff. I understand that. I understand how that's bad. I understand how, that can be a really big problem. And I did feel that problem for a minute, but I also felt like a pretty girl. So, yeah, I mean, there was that. Anyway, so I was standing around hanging out with my friends, and I'm a little shy when it comes to going to the bathroom in public areas. I have a really hard time with that. There's no other better place to urinate or defecate than your own home, right?
See, I used to feel the same way. And I do again, but there was a time where I didn't because touring will do that to you. You just, any place to pee is a place to pee. And you just take the truck stops as they come. And
the opportunity, yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, you can't make it home for, that number two that you would like to sit on your porcelain throne.
Right. But you can't hold it for a month while you're gone.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's unhealthy. Yeah. Don't do that. But
don't do that for sure.
Yeah. So that changed things, but definitely like MySpace again now.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm like, okay, I don't really want to think that anyone would be looking at my parts while I'm going to the bathroom in any scenario. Doesn't matter what club, doesn't matter where I'm at. I'm always worried somebody's going to check me out, and I'm really shy, and so I'm not going to be able to go. And you got all these issues. And so I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my friend, and I was like, I really need to go to the bathroom. And I was like, but I'm kind of worried that if I go in there, I'm going to get looked at.
That reminds me of, have you seen that movie Waiting with Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah. Yeah.
That reminds me of the one character. He has the problem being because he thinks people are watching him and laughing at him and stuff like that. And by the end of the movie, he overcomes his fear. That moment of triumph.
See, that's probably exactly how I am. I don't like doing it. So, and I'm like, okay, so I'm surrounded by guys who like guys. And if I was a guy who liked guys and I had easy access to seeing other guys, the bathroom would be a perfect spot for me to see that, right? I mean, it makes sense. So my buddy's like, come on, I'll go with you. Let's go. And I was like, okay. So there's a stall. There's a person in one stall, it's a urinal, another urinal, and then another urinal. And in the middle, there's a guy. So I've got to take the left spot, and my buddy takes the right spot, and I cannot go. Just can't. It's just like, I got to go so bad, but I can't. So, I put it away and zip up my pants. And as I'm doing that, this guy bursts through the door. Boom. He's all, uh-oh, it's all full. And I'm all, oh boy. All right. So this was the most flamboyant gay man that I'd seen in that night. And he was really trying to make an entrance. So I'm I go over and I start washing my hands, and he's standing in front of the door. And he's all, does this look too slutty to you? Because I got kicked out last time because they said I was looking too slutty. And he had this little tube top on, and this little, it was almost like a tube top too, that was for like a skirt. And it was very, very small. And I was like, you know what? If you're comfortable wearing that, wear it. You know, who cares what people think? And I was like, of course, if they come over and give you a warning and say, don't wear that, then adjust, because you definitely want to stay. But, you know, just whatever. If that's how you're comfortable, that's how you're comfortable. I'm not worried about it. And he stands in front of the, you can't see it, but he stands in front of the door and he holds his hand against it. And he looks at me and he goes, what part on me do you like best? And I was like, I got to go. You know, so I pushed him and I opened the door. And as I opened the door, he yells, I hate you, through the door. And now there's these guys outside the bathroom door, right? And all of a sudden there's somebody screaming, I hate you. And all these guys are looking at me like, what did you do? Right?
Drama.
Like, oh, yeah, total drama. And I'm like, okay. Now I always refer to this guy as shiny shirt guy because he was wearing a shiny shirt. It looked like holograph material, you know? It was silver, but it was like in different lights and stuff. It was all chameleon and stuff. It was pretty cool. Anyway, so there I was walking out. These guys are judging me, obviously, from the outside of the bathroom. And I go walking over to my friends and I'm like, we've got to go because I need to go urinate really bad, or else I'm going to like walk around the other side of this bar section area and go urinate there. And then we're all going to get kicked out. So we got to go. And they were like, oh, okay, all right. And it was pretty late at this point. So we did, and we leave. And wouldn't you know it, I'm working another venue. This was at the Depot, and playing that night was Blue October. And at the Depot, after this period of time, after the bands got done playing at like 10:30 at night, they would open up the place and it would be a club. And on this particular night, it was a gay club. So they were like, Andrew, do you want to work tonight? And I'm like, no, I'm way too attractive. If I stay, I'm going to get hit on all night long, and I just can't handle that type of pressure. So I was like, no. And I had a date. So there was that. Anyway, we had to make sure that everybody from the concert got out before they started admitting anybody else in. So I'm kind of helping getting people out, and I've got the red rope holding all the people trying to come in. I'm standing there so nobody can come through. Here comes shiny shirt guy.
He found you.
He found me.
He found you.
And he was all, oh, you bitch. And I was all, do you want to come in here tonight? Because I can make sure that you don't get in here tonight. You take that back. And he's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, much better. Don't you ever call me that again. I'm a nice man. Anyway, that's the end of my story. But
shiny shirt guy.
Yeah. It was just, how weird would that be to have two encounters, and they were really close together. It was within like a month. Really close together, where you run into the same guy twice, and he obviously recognized me, you know? Yeah, maybe I'm just flattering myself. I don't know, but it was quite the adventure.
The adventure of shiny shirt guy. Was he wearing the same shirt?
Yeah. No, course. Actually, he was in a different tube top and tube skirt.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you did what you could, and you complimented his outfit, and you said, well, you didn't necessarily compliment it. You just inspired him to wear what he was comfortable with. And, you know, that's a nice thing to do. And he just needed some more compliments on top of that. So Right. You know, and there's a little thing in there where I probably shouldn't have said that, but there is an idea where if you were being hit on, or if somebody's hitting on you in an uncomfortable manner, you know, everybody has a right to be able to say, I'm uncomfortable with this, or I don't want to be in this type of a situation. And I was in that situation, and I had no idea how I was going to deal with it because I'd never been in it before. So note to all you people out there who are attractive, who get hit on by either gender,
if it makes you uncomfortable, you know, you can just tell them, say, hey, I'm not interested. And I think anybody should respect that.
Yeah, they should respect it. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. You know,
No.
I feel like it sometimes comes on pretty strong, and some people have to deal with some very, very uncomfortable situations that escalate into even worse situations just because of unwanted advances, and I can't imagine, man. That's awful. So, but I think there's a lot of there's a lot of knowledge about that. A lot of people are paying attention to that now. So, you know, if that comes down to it, you can like tell the bartender, say, "Hey, this guy's hitting on me. I'm not very comfortable with it." And I feel like the bartenders at this point are trained to keep an eye out for that kind of thing and have the safety of their customers and guests in mind at all times and be able to handle those situations. So, you know, I'm definitely grateful that the world is moving in that direction. We still have a lot of problems when it comes to that, but
I understand, because I was literally in their club, right? And you would expect that if somebody is there, they are fully well apprised to the situation, you know, that this is what goes on here. And I didn't really know what was going on there. I had no idea what type of a situation I might end up in. So, yeah, no means no.
Yeah, that's a good note to end on. You know, just treat people with respect. And if you're talking to somebody and they tell you that they are uncomfortable with it, then just be a respectful person and leave them be. Well,
and if they don't, just push them away and go through the doorway and hope they don't yell that they hate you.
Yeah, shiny shirt guy.
Shiny shirt guy.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Gig Money Podcast. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you. Make sure that you check us out on TikTok. We're also on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be there.
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
Wait, no, we're not on OnlyFans.
Yeah, Andrew, you're in charge of that.
Okay, I'll do the uploads for that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, I'm Cody.
And I'm Andrew.
Thanks, guys.
Every day I'm hustling.